Join Bob Kolazarik as he welcomes a diverse array of guests to the enlightening talk show, Greetings from the Ashram. In each episode, Bob sits down with experts and practitioners from the world of complementary healing modalities, spirituality, and holistic wellness to delve into the transformative power of these practices. From ancient traditions to cutting-edge therapies, Greetings from the Ashram offers viewers an insightful and uplifting journey into the realms of mind, body, and spirit. So now, please welcome your host, Bob Kolazarik.
Hello, everyone. Namaste and welcome. I am Bob Kolazarik, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. And thank you for spending an hour of your Friday evening with me. I'm grateful for your continued support of the show. My guest tonight is Ray Indigo. Ray is an internationally known yogi, founder of the World Yoga Institute, an organization that trains and certifies yoga instructors from around the world. She's been teaching meditation and yoga for over 20 years. She spent 3 years at Southern Command rehabilitating military personnel that sustained serious injuries. She's also an Ayurvedic, she can help me pronounce that later, Ayurvedic practitioner. And she's also biochemist and founder of Formula Flawless, the world's first 100% fresh skincare company. Let's welcome Ray.
Bob, thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. I'm super excited. But before we get started, you do a lot of things, and I think that we could probably spend a whole week talking together and not cover everything, But, you're a biochemist, founder of Formula Flawless, and, the Global Yoga Institute. I just want to throw up a quick photo. A few photos of these poses here. I mean, this is really incredible. I think I can maybe pull off the one on the beach, but I mean, the way that you make these poses just make it look effortless. What's that?
I apologize ahead of time because that's some crazy stuff. It takes a lot of practice. So, probably can't do that in a day.
No, I would say now I struggle, getting myself off of the couch without my arms shaking. So I'm super impressed by that. I don't know that I would ever be able to do it, but it's fantastic. But that's not why we're here. But I just wanted everybody to know about that in the worldyogainstitute.org. So that's fantastic. And then again, Formula Flawless. But I'm going to talk about that later, probably by myself. But because what excites me is the topic of conversation that we have planned out for tonight, and that's our inner self-talk, the carrying of the past trauma.
The real stuff. Listen, to do a yoga pose like that, people think it's something physical, but it's actually not. It's actually your mind field. The field of your perception, your attention is what allows you to change or do anything. And it's not instant, but it's precise.
It looks like you have to be pretty strong to me, though. You're saying it's more mental than physical. It looks, and you got to be limber, and I think you probably have to stretch out a lot. No, you have to stretch, get ready, limber. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. I'm excited to talk about the inner enemy, right? The discussion of
enemy is the real thing. Yes.
Yeah. So, what's your take on it and the inner voice and that self-talk? Because I'm all about controlling our thoughts and emotions and having good positive thoughts and emotions. So, how about you? What's your practice? Because you're a practitioner, Ayurvedic, right? And that handling the stresses and that's part of what you do.
Well, the reality is that even from the moment we wake up in the morning, what happens? We wake up and we start to move out into the day. And the day is just it's exactly like what we think it is. So what do we think it is? We think, oh, you go to get your caffeine. That's the normal first part of your day. But the secondary thing you don't notice is that when you go to do that thing, you have an inner monologue, and that inner monologue is either uplifting you, like you explode with life and love into the day, or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people have that inner dialogue. They have a lot of guilt they're carrying, shame, and we all have that, and then we just kind of cycle it in our minds all the time. That voice. How do you tell people to deal with that? How do you deal with quieting that voice, which is so hugely important?
It's the first thing I say is that okay, so in yoga, we think of dual forces. So the moment that you're born into this world, you have in hatha yoga we say ha and tha. In most people would know this better as like yin and yang. Like this is
Yeah, I understand yin and yang. I mean, yang is the masculine energy, yin is the feminine energy, and there's balance between. Yeah.
so the moment that you begin to enjoy your day, you wake up and you think, "Oh God, I am I failed yesterday. I've been a terrible person." You start to have bad thoughts. You start to remind yourself that ah, everything bad that you can think of yourself, you'll start to do this. And this is known as the inner enemy. The inner enemy is such an insidious thing, and we don't even notice it. Like you'll be like going to your kitchen and going to wash dishes, and you're just cleaning the plates, and you'll start to tell yourself a very negative story about how like you really wanted to wake up tomorrow and let's just say you wanted to go and take a yoga class. We'll just make it very simple. I'm just going to change my life in a small way. So I'm going to go and take a yoga class. So here's the thing. Before I do that, the night before, I go and wash my dishes, and inside of me, I say, "Wow, you're very inflexible." Kind, kind of, you're very inflexible, and also people are going to judge you. They're going to look at you and then they're going to think you're not good at yoga. That's already two negatives. This is what we call the secondary force. Tha or yin, it's a collapsing force. And we all have this. And it's not bad or good, but our relationship to it is what actually changes everything. So, yeah, all of those things might happen, but it's best that I actually go and try to change my life. But what happens is that inner enemy, that secondary force, it always reports to you, oh God, you can't, you won't, you're less than some variance of this. And so what do we think? We think because of that, we shouldn't do the thing. But the reality is when you hear that
Yeah, that is a self-limiting belief. That's negative self-talk. That's
talk, yeah, it's like,
self-sabotaging
and it
behavior.
takes many forms.
Yeah, that kind of talk will shut people down. I've discovered a lot of inner programs and self sabotaging beliefs that I've had along the way. I mean, I'm pushing 60 and I'm still figuring out stuff that's like layered down because you start discovering them and bringing your awareness to them, right? And then all of a sudden you can start working on like the good layers, and then as those peel off, something might come up, and you have different layers of traumas and all that kind of stuff, and self-talk. And I've had in preparation of the show, I talked about just getting out there and talking to people, and all that. It was a big block for me, but just I have to overcome it, and it's
That's what I'm
working.
interested in. So how do we overcome it? That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah,
It's
what's your
it's
take?
actually it's actually it's so terribly simple that we get stuck. So how do you overcome this whenever you have any negative self-talk? Like your inner enemy is like, listen, for whatever reason, it's like, oh, you can't do that photo shoot because your hair is not cool. Okay. Or you can't ever lose weight because you're not able to handle it. No, it's always the same thing. It doesn't matter what voice it takes. All you do to, as a being, take control over that is greet it. This is a weird thing because you don't think of it. It's like, hey, my inner enemy, you're telling me that, oh, I can't do that yoga pose because my hamstrings are too tight. Like, we'll just give one variable. We'll just say it's one thing. Oh, I can't do it because of this. Cool. So, how do you negotiate to get your hamstrings more open? Is not just opening the hamstrings, it's also talking to the inner enemy, the thing that blocks you. And how do you talk to it? You say, hey, I know you. You greet it. You say, it's you, my familiar friend, the thing that is always like this. Hold on, let me get on the like this. I want to get on the camera. It's like this. It's like coming in and it's always telling you, you can't do this. You say, hey, you just greet it. And then here's the masterful thing that we do as yogis is we say, I know you, my friend, my criticism, and I like you. And then you just listen to it. But the moment that you just hear it like this, when you make it a separate thing from you, it's separate from you. So you know. So you say, okay, I understand. Does it make a.
Oh yeah, no, it makes total sense. So when we come back, I got to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk about some habits and some micro meditations. So, like I said, time for a commercial break. I'm Bob Kolozarik, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll be back right after this.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Hi, welcome back, everyone. I'm Bob Kolozarik, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We're back with Ray Indigo. Can't put her in a box. I don't know. She's a yogi. She's a martial artist. She's a biochemist. She's a lot of things, but mostly a spiritual being having a human experience. So welcome back.
It's all actually the same stuff, Bob. That's the thing, is whether it's martial artists, practices, yoga movements, or biochemistry, it's the same thing.
And you also just got back from teaching yoga in Peru. Can I just say I want your life?
I love it. Peru is like one of my favorite places. It's a place where the best way to describe Peru in like a very simple phrase is you're walking down the street, randomly a flower blossoms in the air around you, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. That's Peru. It's a heartfelt place. So all the people there, you connect with them at a level that we don't always get in America. So
Well, because they're heart based. That's what you're. not everybody's heart. But my mission in life is to make more heart-centered men for all you heart-centered women out there that are looking for them. And I know there's a lot. I have a lot of friends that are looking at them. But before the break, we were talking about some things. But let's go into like specifics of making small daily changes in our lives. And how would you tell people, you know, what's your approach on that?
So, the biggest obstacle we have in the modern world is that we're extremely multitasking. So, you know, while I'm even here on this thing, I shut them down on my computer, but if I didn't shut them down, there's 20 million apps that are always giving us information. So the biggest problem that we have in the Western world is how do we place our attention? So if you think about this, like from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, where does your attention go? And what we are seeing now more than ever is that attention is very scattered and often not where you want it to be.
Yeah, I have way too many. I look at my screen time sometimes. I'm like, what? How many hours was I on that screen? And I'm trying to really disconnect from that.
So
Yeah,
in the past, why I bring this up is that in the past, when I first started my meditation trainings, which was over 30 years ago, we would sit for 30 minutes, an hour, and it was very uncomfortable. But nowadays, that doesn't really work because no one has an extra 30 minutes or an hour. So the actual issue is micro meditations because if you think about it, like I have let's just say I have 10 attention units. Like it's just giving like a random quantification of an idea. So I have 10 attention units. So how many of those attention units are stuck in the past? How many of those attention units are in the actual world around me? And how many of them are moving towards the future? So we have to look at this because the reality is that that's the most valuable commodity any of us ever have is our attention units. So if a good portion of my attention units are into some personal drama with my spouse or my friends, then what happens to my life?
yeah, that clogs up your energy body, your emotional body, and then when your aura starts getting filled up with that kind of energy, it's like having too many bugs on the windshield. You can't see clearly.
You can't see clearly. So what happens to my present moment and my future? We have to really look at this. So one of the best things that I can ever say about how we do micro meditations is they're essentially things that and a micro meditation is something that we're employing now in the modern world. Because in the past, we would have 30 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes to meditate and correct our mind field, but we don't have it anymore. So we need these little things that you can do in like 30 seconds that brings your attention back.
It was, yeah, I like that idea. Give me an example of a micro meditation, but I'll tell you what I do is if I start getting like too carried away, I just kind of put my hands to my heart, either in a prayer or just heart, and I just do some pranic breathing cycles.
Bob, you don't need this. You are a meditator like me. Like you and I, we're not micro meditators.
No,
We're
no, I have a big meditation practice through my
no,
Ayurvedic yoga practice and stuff. I mean, but yes,
no,
but like
you're a
in
serious
the middle
practitioner.
of a day, if I start getting a little something starts getting into my head, I can't shake it. I'll just go and focus on my breath and just
Let
dispel
me
my
give you
mind.
some better ones.
Yeah,
Let,
that's what
let me,
I'm.
yeah. So you first off, I am so privileged to ever teach you because you are a really, yeah, I just want to give respect because
Thank you.
it's important in our lineage that we honor. You are really, you know. So what I'm going to share with you are what I call the fastest way to bring a person to time, like this moment is by space because time and space are together and junto they're bound. So how do we do this very quickly? And I think of always this in like a corporate or a stressful environment. It's very simple. What you do is that you regulate your breath. So you have to have a little bit of breath awareness. Inhale, exhale. If elongate the inhale, elongate the exhale. But then after that, like that's kind of a baseline thing. After that, you begin to actually become aware of the space around you with you think that people know, but they actually don't. So it goes like this. Take one moment and find the corners in the room around you. Like right now, you're sitting there behind your head. You can just know it. Just know the corners behind you, know the corners in front of you. Just have a moment where you actually realize the physical space. And the fastest way to do that is by finding the corners where the walls meet. Does that make sense?
So you're just being aware of it. You're just bringing your awareness to the corners of the room, or just are you focused on it? Because I just generally just kind of bring a stillness and just an awareness of everything that's going on,
So
including my dog that's snoring right now. I don't know if you can hear her.
I can't, but I love that. Anyways, so what you do is very precise actually. You literally like almost as if you just find you physically notate the corners behind your head and in front, like you actually find it physically, not in like some vague way, like you locate.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
I
Yeah,
know, I know.
we're going to have to take that one offline, I think, with a special session on that. But I want to get more into other things like clarifying our inner and outer goals. How do what do because as within, so without. So do you want the inner goals that then manifest that into the outer world, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So the most important thing when we're thinking about how do we organize our life is that we want to take a moment and say, what is it that I'm moving towards? Like, what is the thing that I want? And so, for instance, it could be that you want a family, you want a marriage, you want this. It could be that you want a business. It could be that you want to create an eco farm. It could be any of these things. But how do we orient all of our day-to-day decisions is that we first decide on the thing that we want to generate. What is it that we want to bring into the world? And we're very honest about that. And then the next thing is like, how do we get to it? And this is where it comes down to you have to augment your day-to-day choices, which it seems so simple when I say it like that, but to actually do it means that you have to really want the thing you're bringing into life. And then you take every step to bring it into life.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You have to have a vision. And I have a vision for my life, and things have been rolling pretty well. I mean, I'm working in alignment with this show and with the association work I do for the American Pranic Healing Association and my business. It all lines up, and it's a beautiful flow. So you have the vision, and in our Hatha Yoga, we have a character virtue
And then
building.
something happens that always interrupts it, right?
It can, yeah, but you just have to flow with life. But we have constancy of aim and effort. It's a virtue that we work on, and non laziness. So, just like you said, you have to have the passion and the focus. And so, when you start having the emotional jazz for it, right? You get excited about what you're doing, and your thoughts are clear and your vision's clear. So now you're cooking with that emotion and you're cooking with those thoughts. You got the emotional body feeding the mental body, which is the most subtle of our energy bodies. So yeah, that's how you start to get into that flow. And if you're working for your higher good, it just kind of just life starts to unfold. When you're working from that space. And I see it with you. I mean, everything that you do is just, it's amazing. Is it pretty effortless for you or what?
No, I really wish it was. I
But
really
it does it
wish.
flow pretty well. I mean, because you have a lot of different things and you have to focus on all those different things. So,
Yeah. So,
how do you
so one
balance it?
as best I can, because the reality is that I am a very passionate human. Like I love life, but I have a skincare company. I have a yoga school, and then I have like I also do business development where I fix people's businesses so they are spiritually aligned. Because the reality is that if a business doesn't have a strong ethical structure, at a certain point it will always fail. You have to have like a clear purpose and a clear ethical structure, because if I was going to give any information about how to succeed at anything, the most important thing is your ethics. And your ethics means your honor to yourself and your understanding of spiritual universe, physical universe, and how these two touch. And so many people fail because they don't understand that the physical universe and the spiritual universe are a little bit different. And
Yeah. Yeah, Master Chokaksui, founder of Pranic Healing or Haddock Yoga, he has a course, Spiritual Business Management. And it talks about spiritualization of business, just to be, it's a giving that you receive, be a generous company, just plant the seeds that you want, seeds of success that you want for your business by the way that you interact with people and the world. Yeah. So it's very important. So like if I'll decree, like pray that, anything that I give from a business perspective, free of charge, comes back to me karmically, me and my family many, many times with like a certain 10% negating any negative karma. And so that there's a will to decree to that. And so, yeah, I love that. I love that you do that. How receptive are people for that kind of business, when you go talk to them about that?
well, so when I launched my skincare company, this has done fairly well. But the thing that actually funds it is that I also do development of other people's businesses. So, for instance,
I mean, do they
how,
come to you and say, "Hey, help me spiritualize my business," or is
yeah,
that's your
actually,
reputation, so they'll come to you for that?
actually, what happens is that, how would I say it?
Yeah, we got a
You
minute for the next
you
break.
want to. So the reality is that to make money in your business, you have to put the ethics in. So if your business has unethics, your customers know, and they don't respond well to it. So you actually to make a business successful, you put the ethics in, which means that the marketing is ethical, the product is ethical, and the pricing is ethical.
Yeah, I was in the elevator business for 30 years, and there's a lot of cutthroat people working it. Not everybody is as ethical as they should be. So it creates a lot of drama. But I do have to take another commercial break, and we'll pick it up on the other side. So, like I said, break time. I'm your host, Bob Kolazaric, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll be back with Ray right after this.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Bob Kolazarek, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We're back with Ray Indigo. Hello. Boy, time's going by so fast, but we've got so much to cover. Like I said, we could probably sit around and talk for a week and not get into everything that we'd really want to talk
It's
about.
such a pleasure speaking with you. Honestly, my friend, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you. And you are as well. We got the Mutual Admiration Society going, which is wonderful. So, we've been talking about thoughts, emotions, and getting trapped and all that stuff, but more techniques. How do we unpack all these, transform these negative emotions? I know from my perspective, how do you handle that?
Well, the most important thing is just notice when it happens. I can't express this enough. When I was a little yogini, when I was like 18 years old, I remember walking up to see my teacher. And this is like a thing that we should all understand. And this story is worth the time. I was walking up to see my teacher, and it was in Encinitas in Southern California. And she pulled up, she gets out of her car and she starts walking across the street. And all of us are like lined up. We're like waiting for her to come. And she's like a high level teacher. So we're all like, ah. And she's walking across the street. They had just put in fresh resurfacing of the street. So she's walking across it and she steps in like the
asphalt.
Whatever I don't even know, like the whatever they fill holes with, and she steps in it. And I was 18 years old, and I thought, no one has any anger. This is my perfect teacher. And she steps in it, and we're standing there, and she literally becomes so enraged, like a fire of anger. And I was traumatized immediately. Like, my teacher is angry. I thought she was perfect. And then she walks up to us and she holds her foot up with the tar from the street on it. She's like, and she says, I am so angry. And all of us are fucking weird. We don't even know how to be. How do I even be? My perfect teacher just said, she's so angry. I'm 18 years old. But what happens next is the precious thing. We all we wipe it off her foot. She's fine. We remove the tar from her foot. We go into the yoga studio. We put our mats out, which are like this close to each other, old school style, like super close, hardcore. And she starts teaching, and nothing of anger exists in her. Nothing has changed my life more than this one moment, where I realized that she just expressed full anger and left it. That was the end of it.
Wow.
And this is the problem that all of us are suffering, is that we experience something that we resist and we hate, or we have a negative emotion to, but we keep it forever.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. And that was my one of the most amazing teachings I ever got. She didn't mean to teach it to me, but when I witnessed that exchange, she doesn't even, if I even told her about this, she would be like, what are you talking about? She wouldn't remember it. But for me, I understood everything in that moment. I was like, oh, express your emotion fully, especially if it's negative. But express it doesn't mean take an action. It means feel it, emote it, and then what comes next? She taught the next class. There was no residue of that emotion. Nothing was there. The
That's
next thing
all.
that happened, yeah. So that's what we do with our emotions. We're honest, and then
Yeah, I talk about guys being pretty damaged when it comes to that. We were talking about heart centered men earlier, but most men don't know how to be heart centered because we learn to suppress our emotions from such a young age, and it just builds and builds and builds upon it, right? Like big boys don't cry, or if you're going to cry, I'll give you something to cry about, or hey, don't cry like a little girl, cry like a little baby, and it just you build up that, and then I think that's why guys have a trouble expressing themselves, and maybe just it comes out in a very negative way at times. You might just start yelling or whatever. I mean, I'm guilty of that. Hands down. I'm not proud of it, but I've learned a lot from it. So yeah, we just need to be able to process through. So how do you unpack it? You got layers and layers. You got a guy like me, 60 years old almost, just layers and layers of keep it all in.
so if we're going to look at emotions, we have to understand what they are. We have to have a proper first definition of what is an emotion, because we're feeling resistance, we're feeling upsets, we're feeling happy, we're feeling erotic, we're feeling all of these things. We don't know what they mean. So we have to have a basic definition of it. What is an emotion? So let's look at that first. So the first thing that I would ever say when we're talking about the emotional body is an emotion is essentially how you are experiencing the world around you. So for instance, if I'm depressed and someone calls me up, what do? I don't even take the call.
Yeah, that's smart.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm depressed. I'm like, oh, I can't deal with it, right? I'm like, hold on. I'm like not dealing with it. But let's say I'm feeling agitated. Yeah. My boss calls me and I'm like, hey. And they're like, hey, here's all these problems in the business, right? How do I respond? I respond with, I shut them down because I'm angry. So I just shut that conversation down. Now let's say I'm feeling good about myself. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling like I can put out energy around me. My aura is strong and I'm putting out space. My boss calls me and they're like, hey, we've got some problems with the business. How do I respond? I'm like, oh, good. That's a fun game. Let's fix it. See the
But
difference?
yeah, I
How
mean,
to
definitely.
respond to incoming information is my emotional state. And when we understand this, then you should say, well, what can I do to change it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Awareness of it is very important.
because like
But like from my perspective, the energy healing aspects of it is critical, and it's so effective for emotional, like the pranic healing stuff, to help peel off some of those layers. But getting that awareness and getting your thoughts and emotions under control, and feeding your aura with positive emotions, like you're saying, happiness, joy, excitement, and the positive thoughts. I can do this. I'm going to be successful. This show is going to be, a million people strong watching us here live on the Bold Brave TV. Just putting all that out there. and then you attract what you focus on too. From a manifestation standpoint, right?
It's mostly something you need to think about, like, where am I going and who do I want to be? When you start to think of this, then you would say, like, now I'm in a situation where I would normally be emotionally triggered, but if I have a different viewpoint, maybe I navigate something else.
Yeah, I learned a lot about overcoming triggers. You don't know my original story, but when I got into pranic healing, I separated from my wife. She found out she was terminally ill like a few weeks after we separated. She's passed on since. This was years ago. But what I haven't shared with anybody was the fact that I was, after our divorce was finalized, I helped her, when she was going through her chemo, and just being there for her. And I had changed a lot. I'm on this spiritual path. She had not changed, so she was just constantly triggering me all the time. And it was such a lesson to learn. Okay, this is how I've been responding, and this is how I should respond, because now you come from a place of love, compassion, and understanding. And so now you could just really be supportive. But, it took a lot of work to get through that. It was like 8 or 9 months of helping her and her triggering me like that. But, and then she just kept violating boundaries, and we just kind of separated finally from there. But, so yeah, it's important to be aware and learn from the triggers and all that.
Yeah, it's super important to just be able to understand that when we're going to change our reality, we have to take accountability for the space we put out, and there needs to be a mannerism of doing this, which is where you go into communication with the physical spaces, the people. You start to actually heartfelt talk to them, and that is a thing that blocks every single person.
Yeah.
We're existing in our phones, so
Yeah.
we don't communicate with the physical spaces. We don't communicate with the people.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's very largely a transactional society. It's hard to find anybody, who just offers unconditional love, unconditional friendship. It's like, what's in it for me? So, but my point of the story with my ex was that whole process just pulled me, out of my lower emotions, which, your solar plexus, your ego and all that. And it pulls you up into your heart space. And then you look at everybody and you're like, okay, it's not about me, whatever issues that they're triggering, that those are triggers around me, but how you respond to it is also on me too. So you just learn that, hey, I understand where she was coming from. I understand how she would think that I was even crazy at some points in times on how I responded, so I become aware of all of that. And it's really helped me to grow as a person, and to, just the awareness of all of it is so critical.
Yeah, exactly. Like how we relate to somebody, and also how we grace them with our love in the ending of any relationship is like really important. So first you give a blessing, but then you have to come back to your own life. You have to come back to your own life and your own ability to speak to the world around you.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, this has been lovely having you on the program. It's gone by so quick, and I hope you come back again, because there's so much that I would love to cover with you. But that's going to be the end of our time together. I have to take another commercial break. So I am your host, Bob Kolazaric, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. I'll be right back after this.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Bob Kolozarik, and you're watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. I want to thank Ray for being on the show. She is really, really an amazing woman, so accomplished in so many different areas. One thing we didn't cover is her Formula Flawless skincare line, and I'll just put up a shot of that. It's 100% skincare. It's 100% fresh, and it's a really amazing product. FormulaFlawless.com. I've been using it a little bit, and it really works well. I have my own serum bottle here, and I tell you, I'm a diabetic, and I have very dry skin most of the time, and with the coming into winter with the forced air heat and all that, skin just really, really dries out. But using that and her moisturizer, it's keeping me in the game. It's been pretty fantastic. So I would recommend that. She's got gift cards too. So if you're looking for a present for anybody, that would be an exceptional gift, I feel. So and I just want to touch a little bit about some of the conversation we had. Filling our emotional bodies is with positive feeling is very important. Our mental thoughts, filling them with happy, positive thoughts instead of the negative thoughts that people just kind of loop in their heads all the time. But thoughts are seeds, and I'll tell you, thoughts are seeds. Where that really struck me, it was like, I don't know, a few years ago, I was reading a book by Master Glenn, and it's called Spiritual Truths. And I can't find my copy, otherwise I'd have showed it to you. But there was a line in there that said, thoughts are seeds. And I'm like, oh, that hit me so deep. And I've been so focused on thoughts ever since. It was like, thoughts are seeds. Oh my gosh, erase all the thoughts. Because it's just like, you create with your thoughts. And it put me into a little bit of panic. But I'm very, very mindful of that ever since. Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path include right emotions. Arohatic yoga, right thoughts, right words, right emotions. Anywhere you go, the Stoics, 2,000 plus years, they've been telling us the quality of our life is based on the quality of our thoughts and our emotions. It's so important. I mean, thousands of years they've been telling us. So anyway, next week I'm going to have Dr. Chris No on. Dr. No is he's board certified in neuromicroskeletal medicine and osteopathic manipulative medicine. He's a 2009 graduate graduate of Kirksville College of Osteopathic Medicine. He's received a BA in psychology from Washington University. In 2003, he's a certified pranic healer, a healing instructor. He teaches basic pranic healing, advanced pranic healing. And he understands in his line of business how emotions and thoughts are totally interrelated to the body. So I'm sure we'll get into that more. So I'm really excited to continue the conversation about thoughts and emotions. We've been talking about it a lot. I talk about it a lot, and we will continue to talk about it forever. Like I said, the great masters, great philosophers, they've been trying to tell us to control our thoughts and emotions for thousands of years. Thousands of years. Once again, the great masters and philosophers have been trying to get us to control our thoughts and emotions for thousands of years. We need to take note of that. This is stuff, technology. This has been around for thousands of years, but why doesn't anybody listen to it? Why doesn't anybody engage with that? I think we're having a spiritual awakening. More and more people are becoming more in tune, and it's the inner work that's going to get us to where we need to go, and connecting with our higher souls. Hugely important. So anyway, that's basically all I have for today. I'm looking forward to next week with Dr. Chris. Until then, I am Bob Kolozarik, and you've been watching Greetings from the Ashram, streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Namaste.
This has been Greetings from the Ashram with host Bob Kolozarik. Through meaningful conversations and practical insights, this show invites you to explore the endless possibilities for personal growth, healing, and spiritual awakening. Tune in each week to discover how these practices can bring balance and harmony to your life, making it a true journey of self-discovery. Fridays, 7 p.m. on the Bold Brave TV network.